Today we are going to explore an extraordinary journey, how to, let's say, transform oneself, how to gain more confidence and change a person's life. Gordon, could you please introduce yourself and what do you do for business?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me so much. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be here, and I really, really appreciate the opportunity. My name is Gordon Douglas Melville, Gordon D Melville. I'm a multi-award-winning international best-selling author. I founded and I'm the principal coach at Jewel International, which is a an international coaching practice. And I'm a lead speaker. I run seminars. I'm the co-owner of Mo Mondays Waterloo. We have a global digital show once a month, so I'm on that. I sit on several boards. I'm active in the church, and then I still find time to help my wife raise our three young boys. My wife, she's 29 years. We've been married. Didn't think she'd put up with me that long, but she has. After being introduced to the world of sales through the automotive industry, I branched out and was mentored by some of the largest names in the personal development world, including Zig Ziglar and Grant Cardone and Tony Robbins and some people like that. More recently, and I guess part of what we're going to talk about today, is my battle that I won and then continue to fight and win the battle of depression from severe burnout, because I wasn't doing any self-care, wasn't paying attention to my body. And so I had to reprioritize everything in my life, which I did. And that's taken a long time and some big battles there, but we've working through that. Undertaking personal development for more than 25 years. It's pushing almost 30 years now. I've read more than 1,500 books on personal development. I've spent a small fortune on international and intentional personal growth. I think it should be intentional. You can grow by osmosis, but I don't want to do that. I want to grow intentionally. So I've used a lot of mentors. I'm certified in a bunch of different disciplines, including strategic intervention with Tony Robbins. And I'm looking forward to the conversation today. My friend that gave me your name said some wonderful, wonderful good things about you. So I'm really, really excited to spend some time with you today. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
It's an honor for us to talk to you, Gordon. So my first question is, what incident pushed you in this direction?
Okay, so I was an Energizer Bunny for 30 years, and but I didn't listen to my body. I just pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And so what happened with that, or what has transpired, is that my body eventually said, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore, and then shut off. And so in 2017, late 2016 into 2017, I was basically bedridden for 2 years. And when you take the Energizer Bunny and put them in a place where they can't move or talk or operate, it gets dark in a hurry. So there was a suicide attempt in the middle of all of that, which Papa rescued me from. I call God Papa because of my relationship with him, but he saved me from what I was doing. I interrupted it with a audible voice that I heard out loud, but obviously he wasn't here. So that was a miracle to be able to do that. But basically what I've learned, or what I had learned through that, was that I had some more to share. And basically what that's done, life's not happening to me. And we hear that a lot, right? In personal development, life's not happening to me, it's happening for me. And I take that one step further and go, it's happening for me to equip me in a unique way to be able to help other people go through what I was going through. And so I have, a lot of times you find people that don't understand, and I was one of those people. Mental wellness, it's turned into mental awareness for me. It's not just mental health. I think once people become aware of where their head is at and how it works and operates, and get control of that, if they can. Most people don't, but if they can get control of it, they can literally success. They can do whatever they want with it, because your mind is such a powerful thing. If you can control your emotion and your mind, but you have to get to know how that works first, which is a journey and an adventure for sure. But trying to make sure that happens. And now it pushed me into a place where now I get lots of people will reach out to me now because of my experience, right? I was in the automotive retail sector for a long time, and people would call in and say, I can't come in, I just can't get out of bed. And I'm like, well, how hard is that? You're just lazy. Just put your feet on the floor, get out of bed. I didn't understand. And now I need to go back and apologize to all those people, because I have a much, much different view of that now. and a much better appreciation for what mental health is about, mental wellness is about, that mental awareness. And so people will reach out to me regularly. I get probably between a half a dozen and a dozen emails a week from people that have had struggles, or people in their lives that are having struggles and asking for help. So yeah, Papa, I wouldn't want to go through it again, but Papa absolutely blessed me by letting me experience that. And now I have empathy instead of just sympathy for people that have mental challenges. It's a broad scope, and I believe as long as we continue to put, and I can get on my soapbox a little bit, the word stigma, I hate the word stigma. Everybody says, stop the stigma. We got to stop the stigma. Stigma is a sterilized, polite word that we all use so that we don't have to actually say what's going on. It's not stigma, it's judgment. We're saying they're messed up. I'm okay, but they're messed up. And so as long as it's exclusive instead of inclusive, right? I believe everybody's on the mental health, mental wellness, mental awareness spectrum. It may just be a little bit of stress and anxiety at work or at home or whatever. It doesn't have to be full-blown suicidal and depression, whatever, to be on that spectrum. But as long as people hold people at bay and go, no, it's exclusive, it's them and us, then there's shame and unworthiness and embarrassment and whatever about reaching out for help. And I think one of the biggest misnomers about people in terms of suicide, even they go, oh, just reach out. There's all these lines, reach out. When I was in that situation, I know from experience that when you're in that space, you believe you're doing the world a favor by not being here anymore. So you're not reaching out when you're in that space, because the people that do are not really serious about what they're doing. They're asking for help. And so, I didn't tell anybody. My experience, I was at home alone. The kids weren't here. My wife wasn't here. And I literally, when Papa caught me and I figured it out, I stopped the process and went back to bed. I cleaned up the mess. There was no mess. And I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my wife. I didn't tell anybody that had even happened for more than a year, until somebody asked me to write a mental health article for an online magazine. So it's a huge, huge deal for me. That part of it is a massive, my mission and my passion is about trying to get the world to understand society on the whole. It's not stigma, it's judgment. Set the judgment down. Put the expectation of what you expect from people down. You'll be much happier. Disappointment, by definition, is an unfulfilled expectation. So set the expectations down. Don't judge people. I think if there was love, and I don't mean that in a sexual way or a romantic way. I mean, it's not eros, right? It's not sexual love. It's human love. Because you're a human, I'm a human, I love you, right? I think if people could do that, all the other BS goes away. There's not, right? It's the crap we see going on in the world at the moment goes away, because we're all doing this. We have this thing in our head that says, for me to be right, you have to be wrong. That's crap. Maybe we're both wrong, right? Maybe we're both right. But we have to be able to be symbiotic with that. And I think once we understand, no, you're a human, I love you. I'm a human, you love me. It doesn't matter how the presentation, I refer to it that way, the presentation doesn't matter, right? Whether you're Arab or Christian or homeless or pierced and tattooed, how you present yourself really doesn't matter. Inside, everybody is exactly the same, which is a really hard thing with prejudices and
right,
whole wax of different things we fight with. But
okay, so my question is, I want you to compare your thinking, like at this dark moment and now. What are the differences?
In the dark moments, and I tend to be a fairly positive person. Personal development for 30 years, that and Papa saved my life, because without that, it becomes really hard to be able to pull yourself out. And then we talk about being able to, everything we need is inside of ourselves. And I believe that's true, because Papa's inside of us. So we're drawing from that. But sometimes it takes a trigger or a coach or a mentor, somebody to come alongside and draw that out. So I find with a lot of my clients, more than half of them are professional athletes. And so they're already at a really high level of discipline. They're already at a really high level of operation. And so when you're talking to them, and when I was talking about myself to answer your question, when you're in a space that's dark and hard and mentally it's difficult to pull yourself out of, being able to reach out. What I found was when I was in bed and couldn't get out, and I was essentially peeing all over my own brain, right? I just couldn't figure it out. What I would do is start at the bottom of my contact list on my phone and start sending out messages randomly to people that just said, hey, you know what? I was thinking about you. I hope everything's okay. I hope you make it a great day. But I would send out 60 or 70 of those. And just the activity of that helped pull me out. And about 30% of those people responded with, hey, Gord, I haven't talked to you in forever. It's great to hear you, blah, 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 right? Which made me feel good too. So that helped raise me out of that. When I'm in a healthy space, then it's much easier to do that, right? But I think in terms of people and being an example in people, because I think people's lives are one of two things. They're either, a huge success story or they're a cautionary tale, right? Either way, they're instructing people, this is what you want to do or this is what you don't want to do. And I'm a walking billboard for don't do it like this, right? Make sure you do self-care. And it's not selfish to look after yourself first, because we all been on a plane. One of the first things they say is put your own mask on before you put the next person's on, because if you pass out, you're no good to any of those people. And so, if you don't look after, and that's not selfishly, and that's not take the time away from your kids or your wife or your work or whatever, find the time. If that means getting up a half an hour early, get up a half an hour early. It means an hour, get up an hour early, go to bed, whatever it takes, but you need to do that. You need to do some meditation, some reading, and some time for yourself to be able to focus and set your day and set your expectation and set your intention for the day, not expectation, but set the intention for the day before anything happens, so that you can handle things better. You're in a better mental state. You're in a more positive mental state to be able to deal with stuff. So I find if I'm in a dark place, and I still have days when I wake up and go, I don't want to adult today. And I think we all do, right? But one of the things I do in one of my workshops, Balked Inside Out, men tend to do it. It's a special thing for men because we put our emotion in a box and we don't deal with it. And then we go and find something else to try and drown out because we still have the anxiety or the stress or whatever. So we go and drink or do drugs or we gamble or whatever. We have a vice that didn't work and take the problem away on top of the original problem. So what I do is do a workshop that's not outside the box thinking, it's eradicate the box. So we give them tools to be able to handle, how do I positively deal with stress and anxiety and depression and all these things, little bits that we have through the day. And if they're too past that already, then we'll give them some clinical and some more help on some other more stringent things that can help them through that. But the point is, sometimes when I'm in a dark place, I have to either ask somebody outside, and I don't want to do that. So usually what I do is just reach out. And some of my friends that know me well, when they get a message that says, hey, thinking about you, whatever, hey, Gord, you having a bad day? What's going on? Right. So they reach out back. So building that community of people and that support structure and that support system that I know they know what's going on and they reach out in love. I reach out in love. And that becomes a symbiotic thing, right? So it's not, and I'm always looking for this silver lining. Where's the right? Because I look at these things and go, well, that experience with the suicide stuff is bad. I could look at it as a bad, but I don't look at it as bad. I look at it as an equipping to be able to help other people, right? So I'm looking at that as a positive thing, right? It was not pleasant. It was not happy. So when things happen it's nothing has value unless we place the value on it, right? So we look at our currency and go, that's $5 because the government says that's $5. Everybody believes that's $5. It's $5. Nothing is good or bad until I place that value on it, right? So I can be praying, you know what? Please, finances and funds are flowing in and out of me. It's easy. I'm finding money everywhere and it's all good. But when I think of that, and then, I happen to be in a parking lot and there's $10 stuck against my tire when I come out and I'm like, oh, look how lucky I am. Well, no. You've been praying. Money flows in and out. I find it everywhere. That's the universe doing exactly what, but if I don't put that value on it, then it's just luck, right? So I can look at situations. I look at it that any of those situations, positive or negative, become part of my adventure. They become part of my story. And a lot of times some of my friends go, wow, you're cracked hard, because I'll be in a really bad situation and I'm telling them, this is going to make an incredible story. Look what this is going to, it's hard in the moment, but this is going to add a tremendous chapter to my adventure and my story. And they look at me and go, Gord, you're messed up, brother. But again, it's just, what value do I want to place on it, right? Do I want it to be, right? A lot of people think the universe is conspiring to hurt them or to hold them down. Or no. It's about abundance. It's about how can I live more abundantly? How can I embrace people and my family and the things that matter, right? No one's going to stand up at my funeral and go, Gord had a beautiful car and a great house. They're not going to do that, right? They're going to look at me and go, or they're going to, well, they may not be looking at me in the casket, but they're going to talk about, if I was a good dad and if I was a good human, and right, those are the things that matter. So the other stuff will come, and Zig Ziglar said to me one time, you can have whatever you want as long as you help enough other people get what they want.
Sure.
And I'm like, okay, so I just have to help as many people as I can get what they want, and I'll be fine. And that's how I've directed my
That's a great message. Let's get back to your business life. Now, what would you like to say to yourself at these working days?
How do you mean? Can you restructure that?
Like during your work days, sometimes you pushed yourself during the business, you went to the business every day. How would you like to advise that person? Do you think that you have had like a healthy life? Do you think that there were some weaknesses, strengths, some other areas that you needed to focus on?
Absolutely. Well, and I think work-life balance is a misnomer, because it's just not, right? There's no such thing. So, but it's about being able to have good times when you need them. So one thing I love about being an entrepreneur is I can come and go as I want, right? When I first started doing that, people said, hey, what's the best thing about being an entrepreneur? And I said, well, there's no one to kick my butt and tell me I have to be at work at 9 o'clock and I have to take my lunch at 12, or there's nobody to do that. And they went, okay, what's the biggest downside of being an entrepreneur? I said, there's no one to kick my butt and make sure I'm at work at 9 o'clock and make sure I take my lunch. And there's no structure. So you have to, as an entrepreneur, they asked Elon Musk not long ago what advice he would give an entrepreneur, and he said, well, if you need advice, you shouldn't be an entrepreneur, because if you're not already outward and overt about going after the information, everybody's just gonna go by you. So were there things that I could have done better? Yes, even with tremendous mentors, iconic people in the personal development world, the Tony Robbins and the John Maxwell's and the Zig Ziglars and the Jim Rohns. I mean, it's a who's who icon of literally of icons, right, in that world. And still, I got into a place where I wasn't doing any self-care. So I was 300 miles an hour with my hair on fire. Everybody was more important than Gord. And it's a problem. And even though I was doing right personal development, I had left that piece out. So for instance, and no shot, I sold cars to Jay Cutler, the bodybuilder that won Mr. Olympia 3 or 4 times. But they're at the pinnacle. That's kind of the pinnacle of bodybuilding. But what's happening in the rest of their life? How are they with their health? How are they with their family? How are they spiritually or economic? Or there's so many other things. And so some of those things, he had said some of his relationships were in the toilet. He didn't have a spiritual life because he didn't put any value there, but he was at the pinnacle on one of the pieces of the wheel, right? So it would obliterate everything. Well, that's not, and I'm not saying balance necessarily. Grant Cardone talks about being obsessed, and everybody goes, oh, obsessed, that's bad. Well, again, that's the value we place on it. That's the value whoever it is thinking about it places on it. Obsession is bad. And Grant said, well, obsession on one thing is bad. So obsession on one woman, that's bad. Obsession on your job, that's bad. Obsession on, drinking or but if you obsess about everything, I obsess about my wife, I obsess about my job, I'm obsessed about, and he's obsessed about everything. Well, then it's not bad anymore, because you're pushing on all the pieces of the wheel all at the same time. You're not sacrificing your family, and you're making business decisions based on, sorry, I slur my word. He's making business decisions, and I make business decisions based on, okay, that may be good for my financial, but does that hurt me somewhere else? Right. Mm-hmm. I'm going to leave. I hold my spiritual place in as hard as I can, because that's an important thing for me. And I think there's a difference between religion and religion. I hate. Spirituality is a good thing. Religion by definition means to bind up. It's just a bunch of rules. Well, and then they wonder why there's problems. Well, anyway. spiritual can come in many forms. I think there's going to be a lot of people that get to heaven or wherever the next place is and go, wow, what are those people doing here? And where's this person? Right? Because it was a religious thing. It wasn't a spiritual thing. And so, but as part of the wheel, if I get so spiritual minded, I'm no earthly good. Well, that doesn't make any sense, right? It's got to be semi-balanced in the sense that I'm looking at all the bits and pieces. And what I did for 30 years was business. And I made lots of money and I had lots of success in that environment, but I almost got divorced. Thank God we didn't. But you know, my health went in the toilet. I'm dealing with a lot of things I'm dealing with now are because I didn't look after myself. So are there things I could have done different? Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. And so when I'm in my coaching with my clients, I try to instill that in other people. Hey, self-care, meditate, eat right, look after yourself. When your body is hurting you and there's a reason it's doing that, right? Listen to your body. And so, yeah, I've radically shifted and it's not perfect, right? I'm not expounding that I'm, eating perfect and salads that's not the deal, and I still stay up too late and there's still things that, right, I'm human, but I have a completely different view of what all that is and how it works now.
That's perfect. So my question here is, you decided to help people, but you decided to be professional in your approach. You decided to get certified from like these people. You could have just like told your story and then the people could have just got inspired by your story. But why did you decide to do it in such a professional way?
For a couple of reasons. And thank you for asking a question. That's a great question. Because I think there's a lot of people that do coaching or that do that kind of thing without getting paid. And I did for almost 30 years, 25 years. I was sharing the stuff that I learned because that's just who I am here, but without getting paid for that. So I do continue to do that in certain places. So it's like a lawyer doing pro bono work. We do Mondays, and that's a speaking thing where we help people. It's like an open mic night, but with speakers and with live music. And we do it once a month. There's one coming up on the 29th. And it's global and it's digital. So at least it is now. Right. But that's where we share. That's where I let that out. That's where I scratch that itch of being able to do, and I still do lots of stuff. I've got lots of friends and there are people that have become friends that I do coaching with, that unofficially do coaching with, unpaid. But there's a difference between, and I think that's where the line blurs for people. There's a difference between coaching and counseling. And that, I think it blurs, right? So the main difference between counseling and coaching, is that counseling is clinical. So the people that the counselor's talking to are their patients. You wouldn't introduce, if you saw your counselor or your counselor at the grocery store and you happen to be with your wife, you don't go, hey, oh, look, that's my cat. You don't do that because you're a patient. And the onus for change in my life as the patient, the onus for change is on the counselor. It's their job to lead me through, however they do it, to be able to make the change in my life. But a coach, the people I talk to are clients, they're not patients. And the onus is on the client to make the change. So sort of I can lead the horse to water, but I can't put a bathing suit on him, right?
Yeah.
I can lead the horse, but at the end of the day, I can't actually it's like the coach standing on the sideline for a professional team, right? You can give all the instruction you want, but you're not the one on the field, right? You're not the one on the pitch. You're not the one out there. So you instruct them and then they have to execute. And so a good coach knows how to bring that stuff out of the client and encourage them and inspire them to be able to go and execute at a higher level. And sometimes, Phil Jackson was a phenomenal coach, but he couldn't execute at the level of Michael Jordan, but he was his coach. So Phil would say, this is what you need to do, Mike. And Mike would go, okay. And Mike would go out and execute ridiculously high level, right? And in even that, we talk about mental awareness and mental health and your emotions and understanding and controlling those things is such a massive thing. So when you talk about why do you do it professionally? Because a lot of times people will listen to a professional where they don't listen to their friends. right? They say that the expert in the room is the one that had to travel the farthest to get there. It doesn't mean anything about what their credentials are. It doesn't mean anything about, it's just they're big. Nobody's so at home, my kids don't come to me and go, hey dad, people pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend time with me in a year. My kids have it for free and they don't go, hey dad, can you, because I'm their dad, right? So there's a value, and lots of people put a value on what they had to pay or what they had to give in some respect to be able to have that information. So being able to control, to teach control of an understanding and control, and we're not talking pinky in the brain, world domination control. We're talking control of my own mind, control of my own emotion. Excuse me, anybody that you and I could name as a professional athlete, whether we watch that sport or not, and both of us know who they are, they understand how their brain works, and they understand and can control their emotion. Because I don't know what your favorite sport is. You're what, cricket?
Football.
Football, okay, excellent. So you have a favorite team, I assume? Okay, so if you looked at the roster of your favorite team, there will be names on there you don't recognize.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And you'll go, who the hell is that? Right? But they came, maybe they were brought on, right? The point is, they're good enough to be professional footballers, even though you don't know who they are. The guys that we would all know, right? So Pele and like some of the guys that are iconic, those are the guys. What makes them that much better? What makes them that kind of better than everybody else? Because these are elite athletes. Yeah. What makes these guys or girls, ladies, that much better? These people know how to control their mind. They know how to control their emotion, and they can harness that. So when LeBron James steps up to the free-throw line and there's 0.00001 second left in the game, it's game 7, he knows he's got 3 shots. And if he misses even one of the shots, he lets down himself and his city and his country and state, right? Most players, even at that elite level, implode on themselves because it's just too much pressure, right? And he understands, no, I control my emotion. I can control it. And he swishes all 3 and everybody, oh, he's so amazing. No, anybody can do it. Anybody can do that. But he's harnessed it. The Wayne Gretzky's and the Michael Jordans and the Kobe Bryant, all these, sorry, I don't know as many footballers.
It's okay.
But you understand the point. Those people are at a much higher level. So if Tiger Woods always said, it's not a mechanics deal. When he was in his heyday, he said, it's not about the mechanics. Everybody on the tour is a really, really good golfer. It's not about the mechanics. It's about the mind game. Can I control my emotion? Can I control where my brain is at and my mind well enough in those heavy moments to still be able to execute, right?
Right.
And a lot of times that has to come from a professional. People won't listen to their buddy, right? They do in some respects, but in things like this, usually they don't listen to their friend.
Certainly. So what main recommendations would you give to the people to live by?
The biggest thing for me, the big ones, and we've touched on them a little bit already, being able to understand how your mind works, right? I'm a big goal guy. And for a long time, I would set goals every year, sit down and set goals and set goals and set goals. I didn't understand until I started to read and study, not just read, but study and spend a huge amount of money to learn and to go through. I'd read the book, Think and Grow Rich and Laws of Success a whole bunch of times, but I needed someone that understood it better than I did to mentor me through that and right. Once I understand the Laws of Success from Napoleon Hill, I would invite everybody, if you haven't read it, go and read it. At least read Think and Grow Rich. It's a smaller book, but the original work was the Laws of Success. And there were 16 or 17 laws in there. And once you understand what those laws are, same as gravity, right? Everybody's trying to play. If you tried to play football and you didn't understand what the rules of the game were, it's virtually impossible for you to win, right? And people play their life that way. They work with their life that way. They don't know the rules of the game, and then they wonder why they're not abundant and why they can't live that way. So picking up a book like that and being able to read, that was one of the biggest books that made the biggest impact on my life and my thought process. Because once I understand how my mind works and I understand how my emotions work and what they're there for. Why is ego? Everybody, oh, ego is a bad thing. No, if I understand what it is, I can harness that, what it is, to give me a positive outcome. If I don't understand what it is and how it works, I can't do that. So being able to have, so in a goal-minded person, so goals is only the first step. I have to have goals, but goals are stepping stones to get me to my definite major purpose. Most people don't have a definite major purpose. And my definite major purpose is going to help me get to my life vision. So I have to have all three, and I have to have them set out properly so that they achieve what I'm looking to achieve, right? And then to have my definite major purpose be so strong, and anybody that's listening, figure out what your vision is, figure out what your definite major purpose is. If you don't know what that is or how that works or whatever, pick up Think and Grow Rich, or email me or call me. We'll figure it out. I'll help you do that. But being able to do that and understand how your emotions work will help you get to however you want to define success. You'll be able to define success that way. So become a student of your mastering yourself, right? Jim Rohn used to say, learn about yourself and work on you at least as much or more than you work on your job or your anything else, right? Because once I change, and I've seen Tony, and the first time I saw Tony Robbins do couples therapy with only one half, I'm like, what's he gonna do? He's only got one half. Like, it's couples therapy. You need both the people. And he went, no, I don't need. Yeah, he was only working with one half, and I was looking at him going, how the heck? It's couples therapy. You need both sides, right? How are you going to do that? But what happens is when he's working with that one person, when they change and then go home and respond differently to the other person responds differently because you did, right? And it was beautiful. And you talk to these people when they got home, you talk to them a year later, and they go, yeah, it saved my marriage. So I have to look after changing myself. I need to be able to, I need to spend time meditating, right? People need to figure out how to spend 5 minutes with themselves and your brain runs in 1,000 directions. It does for all of us. But when you do that, you do it more often, and you start to visualize what you want your vision to be and what your definite major purpose is. You start to visualize those things during your meditation. It gives your brain somewhere to focus. And then those things start to materialize in your life, and you're like, wow, how does that happen? You've put it into there. And then the other thing for me is the love part, because I'm a big hug guy, and pandemic is killing me because I can't. And because I think that human interaction, that human connection is so needed. And right now more than ever, it's so needed. And so, think about the other person in terms of the presentation not mattering. Don't look at the outside, because we're humans. We're going to have prejudices and opinions about, is this good or bad or what. Forget all of that. Forget even the nationality stuff. Doesn't matter. All those things, none of that matters.
That is true.
You're a human. I'm a human. I love you. Okay. And I'll give you a virtual hug. So, but those are the big things in terms of takeaways. You know what? Love as many people as you can in a human way, and work on yourself at least as much or more than you work on anybody else. And those, as terms as legacy type things, those are things I want people to remember when I'm gone, right? I want to put, I think Steve Jobs said that, I want to put a dent in the universe, but I want that dent to be there eons after, right? Michael Jackson made more money last year than 98% of the people on the planet, and he's been dead for how long? Elvis is the same. He's made more money than than most people do. And so my point is, they made a dent in the universe that's still it's still effective. It's still relevant. We still talk about it. We still, right? So that's what I want. I want it to be such a relevant thing that we've got the whole civilization, the whole globe, to come together and go, you know what? We don't have expectation of people. We don't have judgment. And you know what? We're all on that spectrum. We're all in that mental wellness, mental awareness spectrum, and just embrace everybody. Because I think once that happens, once everybody understands they're on the spectrum of mental wellness, people will start to reach out. People will start to say, no, there's no embarrassment. There's no shame. There's no, I can reach out and it will be all right. So that's I want that to, and I'm trying to, everything I'm doing at the moment, I'm talking about doing a TV show and a radio podcast and a radio show and a podcast that'll go to like 220 different platforms globally, trying to get it out, right? I'm trying to connect with influencers and connect with people. That's part of the reason when it was Aaron, I don't know if you know who Aaron is, but Aaron reached out to me and said, Gord, you got to talk to this guy. You got to. And so I really, really appreciate it. And I said, yes, instantly. It was like, yeah, no, connect me, because we want to do that.
Awesome.
Got to get the message out.
So here's a question I want you to answer with yes or no. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. So let's say that with the usual, or let's say the ordinary people, if they go on mental awareness and mental health and self-care, can they change their lives to the better?
Yes.
Perfect. Where can
absolutely they can. They should. The challenge is, and I'm sorry, that's not a yes or no.
It's okay.
The challenge is less than 3% of the population on the planet does any kind of personal development. That means less than 3% of the people on the planet are doing any kind of self-reflection, self-awareness work of any kind, which is part of the reason we don't know. And part of the reason they don't is because it's hard. I don't want to look in the mirror and look and see where my warts and I don't want to see that. I don't want to admit that to anybody, not even to myself. They talk about sales job. That's the ultimate sales job. I'm going to make sure that I can't even sell myself on looking at myself and making myself improve, becoming a better human, right? If they do the things you're talking about, absolutely. Yes. Emphatically, yes. There's no way you couldn't. There's no way you couldn't.
Perfect. Like if people would like to reach out to you, where can they find you?
The easiest way and the quickest way is on email, and that's Jewel. That's JEWIL, which is an acronym for Jandon Empowerment with Intention Life Coach. So Jewel, JEWIL .coaching@gmail.com is the easiest way. And you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on, I'm just in the process of trying to get a YouTube channel going. So you can reach out. I'll be there somewhere.
That is
awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
It has been amazing talking to you, Gordon, today. Thank you so much for that indeed.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.